everybody, it's the Redstone Wizard here again, bringing you another Redstone tutorial. What I got for you today is part 2 of the Mega Bulk Storage, where we are dealing with the item counting system and the filtration system for each one. Now, hopefully, there's going to be a part 3 where I'm able to put in a binary code to lock it, and there's going to be some changes, but that's going to be a completely separate video. But we've already, if you watch part 1, we already know how this thing works. So we're going to take and just look at what we need to build the control circuitry. Now, what I'm not going to do is, well, one, show you guys, you could use any type of item elevator. I'm just using this. And an item and elevator for here. This is part of the control circuitry. I'll explain what all that is. And the last thing is just a simple little box. If the box is full, the item gets put back into, if the storage is full, the item gets put back into the box and sent back to where everything is loaded. But this thing right here will not be, I will not show you guys how to make it. All it is just I got a double chest. The bottom hopper is powered. So if the item can fit in there, it will go in there. If not, it'll go into the bottom chest or tick or, yeah, that's a sticky piston. Yep. So let's take a look at what we need to build this. And yes, I will be color coding it like I did this one, so that we'll be able to utilize it. But this is just general blocks. So you're going to need 49 additional solid blocks. And some of these numbers might not seem right because after I recorded the last one, I went through just to make sure I had everything right, and some of the things changed. So bear with me, but this is if you're doing things where it required a solid block and required a glass block or transparent block. So need 49 solid blocks, 43 more observers, 27 powered rails, 38 glass, 11 torches, 14 comparators, 18 hoppers, 6 sticky pistons, 2 redstone blocks, 10 pieces of dust, 14 droppers, 3 doors, 1 block that can be moved and be able to have a signal strength. Four chests, which if you still have chests left, if you have 2 chests left over from part 1, that's part of this. 1 barrel, 3 activator rails, 3 dispensers, 4 trapdoors, 1 wall, 1 target block, 1 mud block, and 4 random items. And you need 63. You need 21 plus a stack of filtration items, all the same. 19 and 20 random items. I'm just using the filtration items because it makes it so much easier for me. So we're going to break that. And we're going to come over here to this part. Now, we're continuing on with the counting system. So we're going to place a solid block there with an observer pointing into the solid block. That will activate that door, which activates the observer, which will activate the droppers, sending out items out. Then we'll place a glass block. Let me get this with a with a door, a solid block on the door, a observer powering the solid block with another door on the observer. Now, the reason why I'm using doors is because they are too tall. Observer can detect them, and they don't transmit any signal if they get moved or anything. So next is we're going to take and place a sticky piston right next to the observer with a solid block. Then next to the solid block, we're going to place a random block and go down one, leaving a gap, place another solid block. Grab your repeaters, which did I forget the repeaters? Looks like I did, but we are going to need 8 repeaters. So let's grab our 8 repeaters. Now this is per slice. So repeater here and a repeater here going towards the door. Set this one to 4 ticks and set a solid block behind this repeater. Take an observer pointing down into the solid block and an observer pointing towards the repeater. Now what this does is create a signal that anytime this pulses, this door will open and close, allowing us to count how many items are going through. Then we're just going to put 4 more blocks out this way, and we're going to throw some rails on it. Powered or activator, it doesn't matter, but all these ones have to be the same, and if next to it you want to put activator rails, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Then at the end of here, we're going to throw and put a glass block. Throw a comparator on the glass block, and on the observer, on top of the repeater, we'll place a solid block. In front of the observer, we'll place a solid block with a torch on top and a solid block. And do the same thing to the other side. Now, on top of the comparator, we're just going to throw glass blocks. Now, grab your droppers. Place a dropper in the middle, going with the mouth facing one comparator and then the one facing the other one. Make sure that they are pointing into the same one. Go into one of them, and we're going to throw based around how many items you want this to count. This is important. This is where you must make a decision. You take the amount of items you want. I want to dispense out 9. Take that plus 1. If I wanted to dispense 27, I put 28 in here. But because I only want to dispense 9 items, I'm only going to put 9 in there. So then we're going to take our observer, put one down there and one facing down there. And on top of these droppers, we're going to place the place droppers point reading from them. Place solid blocks here and solid blocks here. Now, if you want to be able to change things, you could always drop this down one so you could actually walk through here at head height. But with the capabilities of being able to crawl, that becomes pointless. So then we're going to take our power rails on one side and go 1, 2, and 3. That will lock that. So now we're going to take our 3 activator rails, and on the other side, 1, 2, 3. Now what that's going to do is create a clock that's just going to go crazy. Pick a side, throw a redstone block on top. And you want it right in the middle of these 2 observers, right above the droppers. Then we're going to grab our regular pistons, which, did I forget those 2? We're going to need 7 regular pistons. 7 regular pistons for this. And we're going to make sure these 2 right there are only being powered by pretty much looks like they're getting powered by nothing. But we're going to place solid blocks here, place a temporary block up there, and grab observers, 2 of them, put 1 here and 1 here. And we can break that. Now throw our torches here, and grab our glass and go 1, 2. And throw rails on here too. Now that would count. Now that would cause the system to start counting. So if I was to take and throw in 27 powered rails, just because I can, and I'm going to break and place that, and then break and place that. Let's throw that out. And let's go over here and grab, and we have 8 plus 19, 27. Let's see. Yeah, this is supposed to process exactly 9 items. Okay, 27. Let's try it again, because I'm pretty sure that. Okay, so now in here we have 18 plus the 9, 27. Perfect. Next is we're going to take and throw an observer right next to these rails. That's fine. We need those there. Then we're going to take a transparent block or any block you want, place it there with a piston on it and a solid block on top of that. Now we're getting into the filter. So let's switch colors. So let's go with a nice magenta. Okay, so swap this to magenta. Now, the thing is, with the counter, it's part of the filtration system, but the filtration system is a completely separate section too. So we're going to make ourselves a filter. So we're going to place above the piston a solid block, any block you want, next to it, and then next to the cauldron, a solid block. Reading out of the solid block, a comparator. Dust, dust. And then we are going to throw a comparator right there. Now, on top of this rail, we're going to place a dropper. Make sure it's a dropper, not a dispenser, because we are going to filter those into hoppers. We're going to put those directly into a hopper. This hopper sole purpose is to take items to to our chest system, which is representing X number of boxes, and X is already you've already determined based around here. So this is 9 boxes. Every time 9 boxes happen, it's going to send one item here, and we will be setting that up in a moment. But we're going to take a hopper, put it there, grab our barrel, put it right on top with a hopper into that and a hopper going into the comparator. Grab a torch and throw the torch underneath there. Now in this hopper, grab 4 items and boom, done. This is their filtration system for that. You might need a couple more items here and there, but it's one of those few things. Now we're going to take and put a hopper going towards the opposite way of our storage, because we're going to be standing here. We're going to throw an item in, and it's going to go check every single line like this, like a standard sorter, just so that we could get items out. Then we're going to take and place. Let's switch colors again, because this is a completely separate system. We'll go gray concrete on this. We'll go gray on this one. Okay, so from on top of this dropper, we're going to place a solid block. We're going to place an observer pointing down. Now we're going to add 2 more and go up 1 and place another solid block. Grab your rails again and then just go like that. Now, what we got here is now anytime that part of the system fires, it's going to create a lock. It's going to send an item through. Next step is let's just take a hopper, point it down directly into there. Now we need to leave a 1 block gap here. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to put a observer right here. 1 block gap. And we need a block gap with another observer. So we need it like this. Observer, solid block with a sticky piston. Boom. Now, when this observer gets changed, it's going to pulse that and have it go. And it's going to process it's going to process the next section. So we're just going to take our gray glass and put it here with 2 powered rails and a redstone block on top. There. So if we move the redstone block, it does power it once and boom. We'll send the items into here, which then goes into our chest section. So now let's get rid of this gray concrete because we don't need that color anymore. And let's go with our standard blue. Okay, so on top of this comparator, we're going to crouch and place a piece of glass. Next to it, we're going to place an observer with a solid block on it. And then we're going to place a door. On top of that door, we're always going to be placing an observer. On every door, we place an observer. Now, facing towards the chest hall, grab yourself your trapdoor and place it down right on top of it, on top of the observer. That's high enough, that's why. Then we're going to grab our wall and throw it right on the slab here. Now, when you're done, you're going to want to make sure that your walls at the ends all look like this. You don't have to use glass. You don't have to use a solid block. You can use a trapdoor door just as long as it looks like this. I'm going to set a wall there just for this purpose. Then we're going to throw an observer right on top of the wall with a solid block. Now what this does is open up the system so that items, once a system gets called for an item, it can unlock the entire system. And that's what it is. It unlocks the entire system. Next is we're going to grab ourselves our pistons. Right on this top one, we're going to place a piston with an observer pointing down. We're going to grab our doors again. And then we are going to add a redstone torch right here. Now this torch we're going to place a block here, but not until we're done changing certain things. So we need to lock this hopper. So we know that if we place a torch right here, that will lock that hopper. So instead of a torch, let's throw a trapdoor. Instead of a block there, let's throw a trapdoor. Make sure you crouch putting it on there. It will work. Then we're going to take and throw an observer That's going to break that, and then an observer pointing down. That will activate this piston. Now we need to grab our droppers. We need to go one above the observer with a dropper pointing down. In fact, we're going to go all the way down until we are in line with the piston. Then we're going to grab a dispenser and put it on the last one. Make sure it's pointing down. Now, here we need to throw a hopper going into there. And now we can throw our torch here, which will lock these hoppers. Then a double chest there. And then a comparator. Grab one right on top of there. Going into a solid block. Going into... Oh, no. We need a solid block here with a solid block there with a trapdoor. Then we're going to make an observer line going all the way down in line with here. And then make sure we put our observers going all the way back. And then solid blocks, filling them in, and the comparator right here. Now what this is going to, and now that we got that set up, let's throw our glass right there. Now what this is going to do is when an item comes into here, it's going to dispense the box out, breaking this torch, unlocking it, allowing items to flow in, setting the filters, loading this up, able to keep track of how many items we have, and we're good to go there. But that's just for that part. Now from here, we need to, in line with the redstone block, we need to go and get the exact same thing we did at the bottom. Right here. 2 pistons pushing a redstone block around. We need to switch colors again. So let's go with light gray for this one. And yes, I am choosing colors arbitrarily. There is no method for my madness. On the other side of the pistons, we're going to place whatever block you want with dust. Now, keep in mind, with this setup, it will not work with all of the system because of how they're set up. You can't get it set up where they will process if you have more than a signal strength, but I only use 1 signal strength for this entire thing. So we're going to put solid blocks on top of those. We're going to grab our comparators again, and we're going to throw a comparator on each piston, grab our droppers, place a dropper facing into each other, radiating from the comparators. Now, our items that we selected, the amount that we selected, we're going to just throw right in there. Now, if you want to make sure that the counting is accurate, take 2 items and throw them in here. That's it. But for me, I'm actually going to temporarily throw 1 item in here because I've got something special. So on top of these, we're going to place solid blocks and observers pointing down. Okay, and in between, we've got glass. Now, we're going to hold off on right here, but we are going to place power rails on top of all of these and grab ourselves our torches. And this is why I waited. Powers this, sends 1 across. Power this, doesn't send any across. So now, on the second time, it's going to send a signal across saying power. but it hasn't even started unloading, so we're good there. So from here, we need to go and put in a hopper. Give me a second. What side? Okay. We need to put a hopper going into the dropper with a double chest, a hopper going towards the front of the build. This is our overflow hopper. If your system is full and an item tries to come in, it will not go in. A hopper going into the hopper and a hopper going into the hopper. Now, next to this chest, we're going to just fill up this entirely with glass and run rails all the way across. Okay, now we're going to take observers on these last two, place observers, pointing up, reading the rails with solid blocks on top, and a dropper on the back one, and a dispenser on the front one. So that right there allows us to control certain aspects of it. Now we need to take our mud block and throw it right in front of the dispenser, because if a item is inside of the dispenser and a block is in front of it and the item can be placed into the world or used, it will not be used. It will stay inside the dispenser. And we are using that factor. So then we need to grab ourselves our observers, place one observer here, put a 3-tick repeater on top of the dispenser, and a piston pointing down on the mud block. Grab a comparator, grab a hopper, point it into the mud block, and any block, and another hopper, point it any direction other than into another hopper. Keep all these, so point it down, point it along this axis right here. I'm pointing it down because it's so much easier. Now we're going to fill up this with I'm using non-stackables and a almost full stack of items. Then, so next is we're going to need to put a hopper going into here, and a hopper going into there, and a hopper going into that one. And then this is going to have our hoppers that don't really matter. Now, this one here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to throw a hopper going towards the back. And what I mean by the back is going into the next slice. And the back all the way is wherever your input is. And that's how this one is, that one is. That one is, that's going to the front. The rest are pretty much going to the back. Except for that one. Then we're going to then we're going to put a solid block here and a solid block here. Grab whatever block you want, place it there with a comparator on it. Put an observer on top of that comparator. And I'll go move that for now. Then we're going to put a solid block in front of the observer with a regular piston pointing towards the edge outside of the build with a torch on top. Next is we're going to grab our sticky piston, place it down underneath with an observer. Now, you don't have to have this one right there. You can actually break it, place it there. But you need to be able to power this entire line with this one here. And it will. So now we got our torch there. We need to put a repeater. Let's see. I'm trying to remember the length, size. Yeah, default, because it's in reverse, so it doesn't really matter. Just need to pop it down for a moment. and an observer, a sticky piston going up with an observer going towards the filtration system. Now, let me swap out our colors again because this is going to be I'm going to use white for this one. I've already got the white. Okay, so now from from this comparator, we're going to place a solid block there on top of the piston. We're going to place a solid block. We're going to put uh, any block you want, then a solid block behind it, any block on top of the comparator, and a solid block behind it. Then we're going to throw a comparator on this back one, a repeater on this front one, a comparator on this back one, going into a solid block, any block, any block. Actually, no, this one has to be solid because we're going to throw a regular piston right here. And now we are going to lock this hopper here. And this is the reason why I use cauldrons, because it doesn't really matter. But you can use whatever you want. But we're going to lock that hopper. And then we're going to take 19 items. Boom. And I did forget the additional 4 for the filter down there. It will happen. But we need 19 items plus 3. So that will just make an entire filter. And we're going to throw dust on these 2 and on that one. Now grab your 1 target block. Place it. Let me fly up here. Place it here with a pair of droppers facing into each other. One on top of the target block and the other one facing directly into it. Any block you want, going with a solid block next to it. We are going to throw a torch on the solid block with the dust on top and a comparator reading the contents of here. In this back one, we'll throw a random item in. And there we go. There's that. Now we need a repeater. We're going to set a repeater right here going into a solid block. Going into, I'm using a hopper, but that's just an updater. Going into a piston, going into a solid block with a piece of dust on top. Okay, now that single slice is ready to go. Now you continue building this with all of these slices involved. And they will assign themselves. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to get to signal strength 15 pretty fast, especially if you're doing something like that. You need to find out where the end one is, where you're going to start from, and set up for like a however you're going to control the system for the next box. This is just a simple one that I came up with on the spot with an item skimmer. You need to pull one item out of the hopper with the hopper from the box and send it down and make sure that these are in line. But what we need to do is this 15 that we get right here. If we come down over here and we place our observer, let's say this is our observer line right there. On the 15th one, we're going to place an observer, place a comparator on top of that observer with an observer going out of it and a solid block in front of it. And the next observer is going to be there, and we're going to place dust on that. So now, if I power that, that'll pulse it, and that will barely reach right here. See? And it will only pulse it once, and it will work the same thing with all of them. And then you continue it from right here, because this technically is 14. So 15. You want to make sure that you count this one and put it all the way. You want to make sure that you keep the comparators are 15. So you want this block here to be signal strength 15 when counting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I wouldn't normally worry about it, but it'll be like that for the next section. And you want to make sure that you get it all set up because it's going to control how the power works. And then it's going to continue going. So now as a box item comes in, I'm going to throw in, oh, let me grab my mud block. Okay. Let me go grab a shulker. Let's do it the easier way. Let's make one. Okay. So I'm going to act as a skimmer. So we're going to take a white shulker box. We are going to fill it with redstone. Okay. So now, if I set this here, fill this up. This is what comes into the system. We pull the first item out. All right. Now, if I just throw the box in here as is, it's going to stay there because I have nothing over here. But if I had another one here, it's just going to continue down the line. Now, if I throw my dust in here, it's going to open up the first slot. And now we have our filter box with nothing in there. Boom. And now if I pick another one and throw it in here, oh, it's already locked. So I can throw that there. Boom. And let me grab myself another dust and throw the dust in there, and it'll dispense and break. The first one will come down here and get dispensed out, loading our filter. Our filter is now getting set up, ready to process. And now the first set of boxes that will happen will pop in and get immediately dispensed, but it's not working. But now we got 9 items in here, which means the next 9 items, the next 9 boxes. Let's put those 9 in here. Okay. So the next 9, 1, 2. Now we got 2. So 7 out of there. And this is, let's just spread these out to make it easier. 3. That's 4. 5. Yeah. Okay, I've got 2 more to go. Okay, so 1, 1. Let that reset. And now put this in. And now we've got 1 item in here. Our system now says we have 9 boxes available. We've got 1 in there, 2 plus 7, 9. Perfect. So that means our system's functioning. And now it's locking up. We don't even have to worry about it locking up. It'll automatically lock up on us. It's perfect. So doing the reset, you have to move this up, put the item in here, back in there, clear that item out first, clear out this, move this up, put a torch there, move this up, put a torch there, break the box, clear out the filter, clear out the extra items, and then reset this to 9. Reset this to according to what you want. Empty out all of this. So pretty much what I'm saying is, once you set it, forget it. Use it, but don't relocate things. Just let it self-assign and figure it out. Now, like I said in the last one, this is unable to handle 16 stack, and that is because of how the system is set up. You can get it set up where you could use 16 stack, but that requires a lot more work on the redstone aspect, and it might not work entirely. But you can preset your system if you really want. So instead of just having the 1 dust here and the 18 filter, this is set, instead of the way I had it set up initially. What you can do, let me pull this, put you here. What you can do is set your system up prior to what you need and make sure that when an extra one of these only goes up to 2. And you set these ones up in the first section if you want. Other than that, do not use a 16 stack with this version. But I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down in the comment section. If it's a major issue, I recommend you join the vendor Discord. Link to that will be in the description. If you want to support me, you can subscribe. Special thanks to the Judge Man for supporting me on Patreon. But you guys, this is the Redstone Wizard. Enjoy building.